It is fantastic to have you here, and I've been excited for this conversation. A, because you're a really good friend of Madeline, and everything that I see you do on your page, and how creative you are, and just kind of excited to learn a little bit more about what's going on in your world, and just what you're up to. So, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here and I'm excited that Maddie is here with us too. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, why don't we do this? Madeline, I'll get you to maybe introduce yourself to everybody that's listening, just so that you kind of know the relationship, the background of how you and Bekah met, and then I'll go over to Bekah to intro herself.
Okay. So my name is Madelyn Clarke. I work at OSM. I'm a creative coordinator and marketing strategist. And I met Becca 2 years ago ish, almost, maybe 1 year and a half, because I am dating her husband's brother.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know this.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so what was the first time I met you, Becca?
Honestly, I think it was that trip to Ottawa in February when Isaac shaved his head.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe like once before that.
I think we went and played games at the apartment one time.
Okay, like around
And
Christmas.
you taught me how to play Catan.
Oh,
Oh, I
yeah.
love that game.
No.
I lost dramatically. Actually, okay, no, I didn't lose. I lost dramatically in spirit because everyone wanted me to win, I think.
I thought you won that game, but
I don't remember.
whatever.
Anyhow, that's how I know Becca.
Fantastic. So, Rebecca, I'll get you to just intro yourself. Tell the people that are going to be listening to this where you're from, what you do, what part of Ontario are you at right now? Go.
Yeah. Okay, so I live in the Bay of Quinte region. I'm just north of Belleville, but I actually grew up in Bancroft. I moved here about 6 years ago. Yeah, so I graduated high school here, and then I went to Loyalist College. I think I might have taken the same program as you, actually, Josh. I did the business
Oh,
administration program. Is that what you took?
okay. No, so we took similar programs. I took the business sales and marketing program.
Okay. Okay.
Nice.
Anyway,
What year
I
were
took
you there?
that 2015.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Yeah. So I took that, and then when I graduated from that program, I took the public relations post grad program. And
Nice.
then around a year ago, I started a photography business just kind of on the side, and then hopped into that full time in the spring. And so I've been doing that since the spring, and I've kind of gradually like added branding elements into my photography business and switched from like a general photographer to a branding photographer. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Beautiful, beautiful. So how long have you been doing the brand photography piece for?
I would say like my first brand photography shoot was almost a year ago to the day, but
Oh,
I've been
wow.
switching that since like July. I think July I officially like switched all of my titles over to branding photographer and started marketing myself that way.
Wow, that's incredible. So how has that journey been for you? Because I mean, like a year today, like that's fresh. So
Yeah,
like, what has that journey been like for you? And especially during these times.
yeah. I think during these times it's actually helped, which surprises a lot of people, but I feel like now more than ever there's more and more people starting businesses, whether it's because they have to or because like COVID made them realize like, okay, life is too short. I need to jump out and pursue some of these dreams. But either way, like I'm seeing more and more entrepreneurs just come out of their shell and start something. So there's so many startups right now, and they're all looking for advice and that branding element, branding photography. So I feel like now has actually been the perfect time for me to hop into that. And as well, we can't host like mini sessions with families because of COVID. So I haven't had nearly as many family shoots that way because not everyone wants to be at the same location and it just isn't practical. So I don't know, it's kind of been like a, a plus and a minus. It's been bittersweet, but I don't know, it's really challenged me and it's been exciting, and I don't know, it's been really fun.
That's incredible. Wow. It's so interesting to me because like and the next question where I'm going to go with this is understanding what it took for you to say, let's go ahead and do this. Because for a lot of people, and I'm hoping to bring value to some people today, is like taking that initial leap to doing your own thing. Like that's a big jump and it's a scary thing for a lot of people. So is there like when you think back to like when you started that, started brand photography, like was there like an influential person in your life that encouraged you? Was there like a moment where you kind of said like, no, like I can do this? Like, tell me a little bit about the obstacles as to you doing what you're doing now, and what was kind of the thing or things that attributed to you being able to make that step.
I feel like for me, it wasn't like a one big thing happened to make me take the leap. I think it was a long time coming. Um, I'm the classic person who does not know what they want to do when they grow up. So every time I was asked that, even through college, I never knew what I wanted to do. And I like change, and I'm not the type that can just do one specific thing forever. So I feel like for a long time, I wanted to wait until I had the thing before I jumped into anything. I felt like jumping into something too prematurely was scary, and I don't know. I just like convinced myself out of it. I'm also a very fearful person and talk myself out of a lot of things. So I think for a few years I knew I wanted to do my own business and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't quite know what that looked like. And photography just totally happened by accident. My stepsister got engaged. She had an engagement shoot lined up, and then her photographer bailed on her last minute. So I was like, well, I have a good camera. Like, I'm not a photographer, but I can definitely take some photos for you. So then after I did that and it actually turned out really well, I thought, okay, that was super fun. I could totally do this on the side. So I just kind of started marketing myself just to like family and friends at first, just letting people know I could do it. And over time, it just sort of evolved. And then more and more people would ask me, like, why are you not doing this full time? Or can I hire you to do a wedding or branding stuff or whatever? Different opportunities just evolved from there. And so once I did my first branding shoot, I just knew like this is my love because I'd already done business school. So it kind of mixed the business element with the creative photography element, and it was just a perfect blend.
Beautiful. I love that. That's so cool. And I love that you mentioned that like it wasn't just one thing that you could point to that helped you. It was like a long time coming. You said something else that was interesting too. You said that you love change,
Yeah,
but you also said that you're very fearful and you'll often talk yourself out of things. So how is like that's an interesting nuance to me because I think sometimes people will often think that you're either one or the other. Like it's either you like change and you're not fearful, or you don't like change and you're fearful. But
yeah,
in this case, there was a little bit of both going on. Was that kind of a struggle for you to kind of manage your way through that?
definitely. And I think that's going to be my biggest struggle for the rest of my life. But yeah, I love dreaming. Like I'm a big dreamer. I have a new idea. Like my friends always laugh at me. They say I have a new business idea every week. I'm constantly thinking of new things, but I'm like I always talk myself out of it. I'm constantly thinking worst case scenario. So it took a long time for me to just figure out what the worst case scenario would be and ask myself, am I okay if that case scenario happens? And I think I took two scenarios. I took scenario one is I put myself out there, I start a business, I try it, and it fails. How will I feel if that happens? And scenario two
Mm,
is I don't pursue this dream and I just keep living sort of a safer life, like the path I'm on now, and don't challenge myself. Will I regret not doing that? And there's fear in either option. And so for me, this option, the fear of not trying and then wondering what if for the rest of my life was way scarier than failing. So I think that's what like really pushed me. And then also just surrounding myself with people who would encourage me and help me just navigate starting. I think starting's the hardest part.
absolutely it is. I mean, yeah, any idea or anything that like we have in our heads, but then like bringing that into fruition, like to me that's the scariest part, because it's
Yeah.
like it lives up here, but it's like, is it actually going to like make sense to the marketplace, make sense? And it's interesting too, because like obviously, like I've looked at your page recently and you've launched something. Tell us a little bit about the new business that you've launched of recently.
Love that new business.
Thanks. I have your package, by the way. Um, so it's called Marie James. It's a knotted headband business. And that's kind of a funny story too. So since starting the branding photography and then switching into even some just branding elements, I've been working with a lot of startup companies, and a lot of them are product-based shops. So after just working with so many of these people and seeing them launch and succeed so quickly, it kind of inspired me to do the same thing, especially in time for the Christmas market. Um, but also with you guys can probably both relate to this, but with being the person on this end of the business where you're helping business owners develop their brand, develop their business strategies, if you haven't experienced, like I've never experienced the product world before. So when people come to me asking me questions like, how do I best market my product? I've never done it before. So sometimes I didn't know the answer. So part of me starting Marie James was to learn the best strategies for my branding clients. So it's
Mm.
kind of like, in a weird way, like a portfolio, but it's also side income and a creative outlet for me too. As I said earlier, I like change, so I'm always going to be doing multiple things.
Well, I tell you what, and I love that so much, Bekah, because like what I'm observing and noticing is that people that like what they're into, like you often will see that expand into other things. So now like we're getting into situations where it's like, why can't a car company also sell donuts or make tea, or you know what I mean? Like there's so many different nuances, and I think it's just like people just doing what they love. But I love that because especially in the last 8-10 months, like diversification within the business world has been so critical, certainly in our world, to stay afloat and having that. So I love that you're doing that. What is that? What was kind of like the love behind that? Like, was that something that you were really into, and you were like, hey, I want to do this for other people?
I think it was, but a lot of it was just what I said before, just inspired to create something. I definitely love the headbands, and I bought some from other companies on Instagram before, so it wasn't like it was totally new for me. But I also can't say that I had spent all of my time making these before I started the business. I think I had a close friend of mine start a what are they called? Clay earring business. Have you heard of Lay's Clays?
No.
Okay,
I love
well,
that.
yeah, Maddie definitely has. Anyways, so she started her business, I think in April, March or April. And when I watched her just go from like the first launch all the way, she has like 13,000 followers now. She's grown so fast. And just watching her journey just totally inspired me. And I thought, oh my gosh, like she's doing this from her home and she's doing something she loves. And her daughter's home with her. Like she gets to be home with her daughter. I don't have kids, but I'm just thinking long term, like when I get to that point, I want to be able
Mm.
to work solely from home. And as much as I love photography, like that's not completely a work from home job. You still have to go out. So I do love making the headbands, but I'd be lying if I said I'm only in it for the love of it. I think a lot more like practically and what can this do for my life in the future if this is successful.
Mm. I like that. I like that. Thinking ahead, thinking of the future. That's and that's super interesting to me, because you said something that I totally resonate with. I myself love working from home. And Maddie, I think I like talk to me a little bit here quickly, Maddie, because I think you're of the same mindset with that. Like, how do you feel about working from home?
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, when I first started here, I worked in the office a little bit, and it was at the start of COVID, so I was by myself. But I have come in a couple of times. But what I find is I'm way more productive at home because I'm comfortable. I'm in my own space. I can make it the way I want it to be, right? So I can have like my diffuser on. I can put my own music on as loud as I want. I don't know, and then I can like also manage my time schedule a lot easier because it gets just me. So I can like block in specific times when I need to talk to specific people, right? Or have a phone call or a meeting. And that's just way easier to do from home. And since I'm also, I do a lot of the photography for OSM, it's way easier to be able to travel just from my house rather than somewhere else. Then I can take my laptop with me. I can just kind of go wherever I'm supposed to be instead of having like one spot where that is, because it's way easier to like branch out and be flexible that way. And also long term, I also want to work from home, not at the office. So yeah, no, I completely side of you, Bekah, on that. I think it's great.
Yeah, and certainly I'm interested too, Becca, for you to kind of talk a little bit more about the aspect of working from home, because like for me, like you said a few things that really like resonated. Like it's a comfortable place. You as well, Maddie. It's a comfortable place. You know, it's your space. You can get a lot done. You're more productive. Like, and then the long term aspect, I'm interested as well. Like, how does that kind of fit within the lifestyle that you're hoping to have long term, Becca?
Yeah, so long term, I definitely want to have kids and I want to be able to be home with them. And I don't know if that means I'll be working from home or maybe I will be blessed to not have to work at all. I don't know at this point, but um, either way, I want to make a life where I can completely be home so that when I have kids, I won't have to leave them. And yeah, just like what Maddie said, like being able to just set your atmosphere at home is so important. I don't want to like get into this too much if I shouldn't be, but anxiety has definitely played a role in my work from home.
Let's go here. Let's go here.
This is a good place
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so for me, I was never an anxious person growing up. And well, I was fearful, so maybe I was anxious and didn't know. But, anyways, the last like 2 3 years of my life, anxiety has just completely like flooded me. And it's very new
Mm.
for me. So, navigating that has been challenging. And unfortunately, the workplace has been like one of my main triggers within that, like stressful work environments, fast paced work environments. So, when COVID hit, I was able to work from home at the job I was at before. So that really helped just be able to manage my anxiety. And that's just kind of what made me realize okay, working from home is what I have to do to be able to manage this because it's just, unfortunately for me, where I'm at right now, it's not sustainable for me to show up in an office every day. So being at home, there's just less pressures to interact with people. Sometimes when you're anxious, you just can't even talk to people. I don't know how to explain it unless you've experienced it. You just don't know. But Maddie's nodding her head, so I know she
Yeah,
knows.
I get it.
But yeah, so to be able to just put the music on, that helps me if I'm really struggling to be able to call my husband or my mom really quick and just have them, calm me down, play for me, something just to help me get through that moment. And then even just like I work from home. Right now I'm looking out to my backyard and I don't know, it's like a sense of peace when you're comfortable in your space. It helps just, I don't know, just create that inner peace. And I don't really know how to explain it, but for me, that's just what works. And yeah, it's like helped me tremendously being able to work from home.
I'm
I think
so excited you went here. Go ahead, Maddie.
it's okay. I think there's like a sense of control, like what you were saying. Like you look outside and it's like your backyard. You know what's there. You know the people that are gonna walk by. It's like a sense of control, right? Like at least that's what it is for me. Like I know what a day is gonna look like for the most part before it happens, which really helps with my anxiety because it's like I know like this person's gonna come at this time. I have a phone call at this time, and then I look outside and it's like I live on the road with like all my family members, so I know who I'm gonna see. So it's a lot easier for me to like walk into a day when I have less unexpected things come up. Which I feel like if I am not working from home, it's just a lot more like unexpected things and things that I can't necessarily prepare for in advance. Whereas if I'm from home, I can easily prepare for them before they happen, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
I also think one of the scariest parts of having anxiety is you might not even be anxious that day, but you might think to yourself, what if I have a panic attack today? And at least if you're home, like that fear is completely taken away because like, well, if I have a panic attack, I'm in my own home and no one's going to see it.
It's definitely a huge thing.
Wow. I'm so glad that you brought this up, Becca, because this is like a thing that we need to talk more about. Like, and I want to kind of talk a little, like I want to dig a little bit deeper into this because like anxiety in the workplace is definitely something that isn't new. Like it's something that I think people have struggled with for quite a long time. Um, like I couldn't imagine what it's like to work on like Wall Street. Like just no interest, no desire, like nothing. But like let's talk a little bit about the like what it is about being in an office space that kind of triggers that anxiety, because what I'm noticing and observing is that I think that entrepreneurs and business leaders are becoming more cognizant of the importance of mental health and creating safe working environments for their team within an organization. So, what are some things like within an office that you think triggers anxiety, or maybe from your experience, Becca?
I feel like everyone's anxiety is so different, so it's hard for me to give like just a general answer to this. But for me, I'm very like sensitive towards people's emotions, and like I've always been a sensitive type, and I'm usually like the first one in a group of friends to know if someone else is upset. Like I can usually just tell. So if there's other people around me that are stressed or they themselves are anxious, or if it's just fast paced in any way, I can like almost take that on myself and like know, okay, like this person is stressed right now and this person is frustrated with this person, and like there's just so many emotions going on, and sometimes like that, when I'm like such a people pleaser too, so I'd want to be there for that person and that person, and sometimes when it's in the workplace, you like to make peace within the workplace. It's to get your work done, get everything done on time, make sure nobody's like, make sure you're not holding anyone back, so be really reliable. So sometimes you can put these extra pressures on yourself to get things done extra fast so that that person's not stressed, or just, I don't know, for me, I just constantly thought I'm not doing enough, so I have to work faster, I have to work better. I don't know, I just wanted to get things done really quickly and get them done perfectly, and that just like completely burnt me out, I think, both
Mm.
within the job I worked at before and starting my own business. I've experienced it in both places. um, so yeah, for me, it's just being that peacemaker, I guess, and not getting too caught up in what other people are dealing with.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. Madeline, do you want to comment first? There's a
Yeah,
lot to unpack.
yeah. So okay, so what you mentioned, I guess like the energy is kind of what you're referring to, right? So
Yeah.
like whether everyone else is stressed or whether everyone else is feeling panicked or rushed, I can definitely relate to that. But it's interesting because I can feel that even from a distance. So like I work from home, right? But when I'm working on a project with another team member and um, it's either not going as fast as we wanted, or we've come up to a problem, or there's some kind of roadblock in the way. It's like I can feel the energy, the stress, even from afar. So having the ability to like be in my own environment and create an environment that's going to actually give me the peace I need in order to be able to act upon that without internalizing it is definitely a huge thing and really beneficial.
Wow. Wow, that is so true. Very true, Maddie. I'm the same way actually. Like like this week I can actually think of like a few scenarios that have come up. Like somebody called me yesterday, like really like peeved off about something, and it like just totally caught me off guard. And they were very upset over the phone, and you know, I had like even after I got off the phone with them, I had to just go for a walk Like I was just like, I need to process this. I need time to just sit and just reflect a little bit. But yeah, you can feel it even if you're not there. So certainly being in your own environment is definitely helpful for that. And like I love, and Becca, again, I gotta thank you for going here with this, because I think that this is going to be very valuable to people listening, because I think more than like I think the far majority of people struggle with anxiety. I've certainly struggled with it a lot over the last 18 months. And there's a lot of like internal work that I'm doing on myself in that area. The one thing that really got me, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks, was that, and it just came to me. It was, and this was just in my own process, my own journey. And the words that came to me were, anxiety is the opposite of surrender. Mm. So then I said, well, what does that mean? And what I believe it means for me is that when I surrender things that I can't control, like whether it's other people that are reacting a certain way to something, or what's happening around me, things that I can't necessarily control, or things that I can control, but I can't do anything about it right this second, right? Like I've gotten messages at like 8 o'clock one night about a customer that's really upset. I can't do anything about it until the next day. So what do I do with that? Do I just kind of sit in it and dwell, or do I surrender that and say, okay, that's something I actually can't control, so I'm not going to take that on in myself. So it's been a lot of internal work, and it's a day-to-day thing, right? Because I don't think you can, I think if it's something that I struggle, like it's not something that I'm gonna always be able to overcome. But I'm definitely working on like the tools to be able to combat it. But I really appreciate this conversation, because like what you're saying, Maddie, what you're saying, Becca, like it just really resonates with me, because that would be probably one of the number one reasons why I prefer to work from home. The comfort of like when those things come up, you have something familiar that you can look at, and then it almost just reminds you that there's a life outside of this situation that's like right in front of you. Beautiful.
It's so true.
Madelyn, do you have anything that you want to add or ask? I want to give you some opportunities here to ask some questions and get some feedback or give feedback.
I didn't preempt any questions.
Did she freeze for you?
Yeah, she's frozen for me.
Okay. I was like, is it just me?
I thought it was me too.
Okay, well, we'll wait till she comes back. But in the meantime, what do you think are some tools? Because I want to be as helpful to people that are going to be listening to this as possible. Like, what do you think are some tools that people can reference as a way to deal with anxiety? Because you mentioned that you dealt with it like in a team member situation, but also in an entrepreneur situation. And I mean, one of the famous sayings that I got going into entrepreneurship is like, it's lonely at the top. And it really, really is. So what are some tools or some things that you've kind of found, like apart from working from home, that has really helped you on that journey?
Yeah. I would say the thing that's helped me the most is with each situation that comes up that makes me anxious, just slowing down for a second, even if it's just like going to the bathroom if you're in an office space. And just like asking yourself, okay, what is it that's making me anxious right now? And like almost talking it out to yourself, figuring out the root of it, and then telling yourself which part of that root is a truth and which is a lie. Because for me, a lot of my anxiety comes from like a misbelief. If I'm misunderstanding or convincing myself something that's not even true, like
right,
this person's mad at me or something. They might not be mad, they might be having a bad day and said something with a little bit of edge to me, and then I took it the wrong way or something like that, you know?
right.
So reminding myself that like okay, not everything I'm believing right now is the truth. So let go of whatever you know is not true. And then the things that are, just try to like deal with them internally if you can. Some things you do have to address, but for the most part, these things are just going to be dealt with on our own. So for me, it was like, okay, my work isn't my whole life and it's not where I find my identity. So if my
Mm.
work is making me stressed, knowing that, okay, well, I'm going to go home and spend the evening with my husband and, or see my friends or something. Hey, Maddie's back.
I'm back.
Okay. I'll just finish this thought quick, but basically just um, reminding myself where I do find my worth and my identity,
Mm.
and just not letting myself get so consumed in whatever it is that's making me anxious. Because it's just such a small part of life. When we look at our life as a like the grand total, it's really so minuscule, but it feels so huge when we're in the moment. So I think just reminding myself that it's not everything.
That is such truth, Becca. And I love that you mentioned the part about it's what I do is not my identity. That is such a great truth to know, especially early on in life. And it's interesting because like I think the three of us can relate a little, in the perspective of like where we find our identity. And I think that that's super awesome. Yeah, and it just being able to separate the two and knowing that what I do is not who I am. So if I mess up in this area, or if I make a mistake, or if I had a bad day, that is not a reflection on who I was made to be, what my purpose is in the overall grand scheme of things. Mally, I'm going to let you jump in now.
Okay. I was gonna mention, circling back now, or talk about the difference between like introvertedness and extrovertedness, and whether, Becca, you think that's affecting whether you like to work from home or not. Because I know a lot of extroverts who love working from home. And Josh, I think, are you an extrovert?
You
Yeah.
you got me. So I'm actually a little bit of both. So I relate to Becca in the sense that like I love change, but I love my comfy place.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know, for me, so I'm an introvert. I thought I was an extrovert for the longest time, and I don't know why I thought that. But then it kind of came to me in the past little while, I guess. I was homeschooled all my life, and then I went to college and I moved away from home for about a year. And about like my first year of college, I was like, I got to see people. I'm lonely. Like, where's my family? I'm used to them. And I always thought like, wow, I'm such an extrovert. I want to be with people all the time. Like, they're what matters, right? Um, and then I started, I don't know, I guess this past year or two working from home, and then I commuted to school for the longest time. Um, and it was like, okay, now I want to be in a comfy place, like you were saying, like I'm more comfortable, um, like on a solo thing for a while, but it actually gives me more capacity to be able to be extroverted when I want to be. So it's
Mm.
like, I'm working from home, right? And then since I'm at home, I'm able to create my safe place, create, like give myself that control. And then I have more capacity to be able to actually be social when I want to be social, like when the opportunity arises, right? Do you guys relate to that at all?
I so relate to that.
Yeah.
I feel like you just described my life.
Yeah, I was just gonna say 100%. Like for me, it's that time to recharge,
Mhm.
and being in a work from home space, like you have time to rest and recharge, and then when things do come up, you can approach it with more peace and less anxiety and stress. Because I think, and I think a lot of people have stress and anxiety right now. Like I can sense it in the air. The people that I'm having conversations with, the tone, the reactions, the kind of the interpretations. I think a lot of people are outputting from a place of stress and anxiety, and you feel it when you're having a conversation with them. So I think it's a great opportunity for those of us who are actively looking for peace, actively looking to create safe spaces, not only for ourselves, but for other people around us. And I think it's a great open door to kind of say, okay, well, like what's really going on? Because it's often not what's being put in front of you. There's always, I believe, another layer underneath.
That's so true.
Yeah, I love that. That's so. And this is an interesting question I'll ask you because, like, Maddie, I obviously know your answer to this, so I'll ask Bekah. But what do you think, like, as an entrepreneur and as somebody that's come out of like the work force, like, do you think that business leaders need to become more flexible as it pertains to their team working from home, creating those type of opportunities and environments for people to thrive? What's your take on that?
I definitely think if it's practical and attainable, then yes. I know not every workplace is going to be able to do that, but I don't know. I always think like if you can work from home and it doesn't affect the person's work ethic or their what's the word? Like their production,
Mm.
then why not? Like if it's gonna help them and they're gonna produce the same level of work, then why not work from home? That's just my standpoint. I've never had a team before, like I've never had employees. So I don't know what it's like to be a boss and think about those things. So I would actually love to hear your perspective on that, Josh. But for me, I think as the person who's been the employee and now having my own business and knowing that I can produce the same level of work at home and it helps me, I so appreciated the fact that my boss let me work from home because it made the world of a difference for me to be able to just manage my anxiety.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, and I appreciate the question as well because I'm kind of realizing, and actually in this moment, as you've said that, I'm actually kind of realizing something um, for myself as it pertains to our organization and our team. Like I had aspirations and plans for us to basically have like work from home before COVID. Like when I bought the business, I had those aspirations. So COVID actually was just something that sped up the process of us having to then jump into that world of working from home and then seeing how that worked for our organization. Now, if I really internalize that and be completely transparent with the two of you, that's something that I wanted to look at and something I was interested in doing. But that's also because that's something that I personally am interested in and something that I personally want to do. So then begs the question, say that wasn't me. Say I am the person that thrives in an office space and I wouldn't want to do anything else. Um, I think it would I think it would be more of a conversation of if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, like, would you be open to, if I worked from home as opposed to coming into the office all the time?" I think I'd be open to that, but I definitely think the initial desire came from a place of like that was something that I wanted for myself. Therefore, I thought, why shouldn't other people have the same opportunity? But I think it's good self-awareness because what if I didn't want that? Maybe then I would have never brought it up. I don't know.
It's funny you said you're the type of person who would want to work from home because as we were talking, I was thinking about the very start of COVID. My husband worked from home for 2 weeks. That's all the time he worked from home, and he hated it. Like it's just not for him. And I think Maddie or Josh is probably the same way. Like
Oh, he was, yeah.
yeah, like some people just can't do it. They hate it, and like my husband just thrives off of seeing people. He doesn't even have to be like talking with them, just knowing that they're all working around him. He loves that. He doesn't like being alone. Whereas I'm like literally the opposite. If I'm by myself working, I'm great for the whole day.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people just aren't wired that way. So some people don't get like what's the benefit to it. And I think a lot of people assume too that, oh, they just want to work from home so they can slack off or so they can go on Instagram all day or whatever. I don't know. Some people just assume, but like that's genuinely not why I want to work from home. I just work better.
It's funny that you said that too, because like, like we get into the whole conversation, and I've had conversations with this about other business leaders and coaches around like, well, then how do you like, track what people are doing? And I don't know, for me, like it's not overly complicated. Like for me, it's like, did the task get done or didn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Like how you get to that point, I'm not checking for that. Like it's not something that's on my radar. It's just like, did it get done or not? And if it didn't, then we can have a conversation. But I'm not like overly concerned about like metrics and KPIs and all that stuff. Like I know a lot of leaders are, um, but it's just not something that's been on my radar. And I mean, obviously, like I'm green too as well, so maybe I don't know enough about it, but at the same time, I'm challenging myself to kind of look in the direction of, I think that's okay. It's almost like the same approach that I have to social, like not really paying attention to our numbers, not really paying attention to things like conversion and stuff, and just being the best version of ourselves as we engage and have conversations with others. And I think we've seen a lot of organic growth from that. So I kind of look at business the same way, in the prospect of people working from home. I'm not really overly concerned about KPIs and how did you spend every minute of every day. Like I'm not really watching that at all.
Yeah. I love that.
I think it might have a lot to do also with the fact that like OSM is run by like 8 or 9 people, right? So in like a larger scale business, I guess there's like way more employees and you have to be more knowledgeable about like the time that's spent and what gets done when. But when you work in a small business, I think it's a lot more trust and a lot more, not, I don't want to say more dedication, but um, there's only a handful of you, right? So your responsibilities are yours alone and you have to do them in order for the business to run successfully. So that might have a lot to do with it. I don't know.
No, you're 100% correct, Maddie, and that's a great point. And it's funny because that's actually part of what I love about the small business. Like there's more of kind of like you said, like a trust aspect to it. And I don't know, like if I can have like some nuances of family within the business world, like to me that's like super attractive just as a whole, like just being able to rely on people and people relying on you, and then just working together towards like a common goal that we're all excited about. To me, that's what any family would do. That's what any like group of close friends would do. So why can't we do that in the business place as well?
I love that. That's why I love OSM.
Awesome. Well, listen, we're just about to wrap up here, but I just want to leave some people with some final thoughts here. Rebecca, where can people find you first and foremost?
So my Instagram, Facebook, and website are all the same. It's Bekah Vanberkel, and it's spelled BekahVanberkel.
Fantastic, fantastic. And obviously, we're going to be keeping up with you, seeing what we do and support you in any way that we possibly can. What's something interesting that you have coming up that you want people to know about?
That's funny you ask. I am planning to just totally shift into the branding world. So I think I maybe mentioned slightly in here that I've marketed myself as any photography sessions other than branding moving forward in 2021. And my website's going to look a lot different. I'm going to have some new services available on there. And that reminds me, I actually had a question for you. Do I have time to ask you quick?
Yeah.
I'm wondering what your experience was like changing from, correct me if I'm wrong, but OSM used to be just a website development company, right?
It was always more than that, but it wasn't properly presented in our branding.
Okay. So as you came along implemented some of those changes, did you find that your clients like tracked with you, or was that kind of hard to get the ball rolling there?
I don't necessarily think it was hard. I think it was more so just about being consistent. Like the more we started talking about things like automation and brand photography and like things of that nature that we've included in our business, making that information readily available, and then just having those conversations, whether it's in our email campaign, social conversations that we're having with our clients, I think it just kind of organically grew. And I think the other thing too is that I didn't have like a huge expectation of like everybody has to know about this now. Like it just kind of grew organically, I guess I could say. And then it's just something I didn't really notice happen until it was like happening. And it's like, oh, people kind of just know that we do automation. I mean, and some people are still learning that, right? But I think it's neat just to kind of see how organically it's grown. And we've been strategic about it as well, like getting the message out there. Like it's certainly not just kind of like, just kind of being willy-nilly about it. But I think people kind of come along over time. And I think the exciting part is that it really kind of helps towards your business goals long term, and knowing that this is a marathon, not a race.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. I have some big changes coming up, so
Oh, sorry, you cut out there.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Okay, I basically just said that's good to hear because I've got some changes coming up.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to hearing them. Bekah, Maddie, thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really excited to put this content out there. I think it's going to be valuable for a lot of people. I'm super, super thankful for the talk about anxiety and working from home and things of that nature. I think it's not talked about enough, especially in our world. And yet it's something that's really real for a lot of people. So I'm really, really thankful that we went there today. And I appreciate the both of you, and so thankful that we could talk today.
Yeah, thank you so much for opening that up, Bekah.
Yeah.
It was a really good conversation.
Thank you guys for having me. This was fun.
Awesome. We'll do it again sometime.
Okay.
All right. You take care.
See ya.
Bye, guys.